Imagine you're at the height of power. Every room falls silent when you enter. Your enemies smile in fear. Your allies whisper your name with awe. You've won, or so it seems. But then, a crack. Not in your empire, but in your ego. You flash your wealth. You flaunt your mind. You make it known that you are the strongest. And that's exactly when you lose everything. In this video, we're going to unravel a dark truth most people never learn until it's too late. We'll use Machiavelli's teachings, rare Stoic warnings, ancient Chinese wisdom, and real historic betrayals to prove one thing: showing off makes you a target. If you want to be truly powerful, not just look powerful, this is the lesson that will save you. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button. If you're into sharp strategy, timeless truths, and the uncomfortable wisdom that actually gets you ahead, you're exactly where you need to be. Niccolò Machiavelli, often misread as an advocate of brute force and authoritarian flair, actually preached something far more calculated: concealment. In The Prince, he makes it clear, a wise ruler must appear ordinary, even humble. Why? Because the human mind reacts viscerally to superiority. Show too much intelligence, strength, or success, and people won't admire you, they'll fear you, envy you, hate you. And hate unites enemies. Machiavelli understood that power is never secure. The more brightly you burn, the faster you draw the eyes and the knives. If people see you as a threat, they won't wait until you attack. They'll come for you first. The most dangerous leaders aren't the ones who announce themselves. They're the ones who hide in plain sight, who blend in, who whisper while others shout. Because the moment the spotlight finds you, so does the crosshair. Cesare Borgia was Machiavelli's prototype for the perfect prince: ruthless, brilliant, and ice-blooded. He knew how to charm crowds, assassinate rivals, and play politics like a chess master. He moved with precision, masked his true intentions, and struck before anyone could react. For a while, he seemed unstoppable, a rising warlord blessed by birth, intellect, and brutality. But then came the fatal shift. He began to believe his own legend. He traded caution for display. He flaunted power, trusted too much in his father's papal throne, and allowed himself to be seen as a dominant force rather than a strategic shadow. That was the opening his enemies needed. When Pope Alexander VI died, Cesare had no anchor. Within months, he was betrayed, imprisoned, and erased from power. His name became a cautionary tale. The message is stark: no matter how capable you are, if you shine too brightly, someone will find a way to snuff you out. Seneca, advisor to emperors and a pillar of Stoic thought, warned against drawing too much attention to yourself. In a world full of ego and spectacle, he preached the opposite: restraint, stillness, invisibility. To Seneca, true strength was internal, controlled, disciplined, and immune to the need for validation. Avoid being too noticeable, he wrote, for nothing invites envy like greatness on display. Envy, in his view, wasn't just a personal flaw in others, it was a force that destroyed entire empires. The Stoic ideal was the warrior who keeps his sword sheathed, the philosopher who speaks only when necessary, the leader who doesn't need to be seen to be feared. Power that announces itself is already bleeding. The applause you chase today becomes the silence of betrayal tomorrow. For Seneca, the highest form of mastery was to need nothing from the crowd: not praise, not permission, not recognition. Just action, held in calm hands. Taoism, especially in the writings of Laozi, offers a parallel truth in poetic form: true power flows like water. It moves unseen, fills every space, adapts to every container, and yet erodes mountains over time. Those who show themselves do not shine, he warns in the Tao Te Ching. In other words, those who seek the spotlight lose their glow. Laozi didn't believe in forceful domination or theatrical control. He believed in alignment, in becoming part of the rhythm of nature, rather than trying to stand above it. The warrior who postures invites challenge. The leader who brags provokes rebellion. The wise move silently, act without credit, and let results speak louder than appearance. In Taoism, the one who bends survives. The rigid tree snaps in the wind. The water that yields conquers the stone. The Taoist lesson is simple but powerful: stop trying to be impressive. Start becoming uncatchable. Power isn't a substance. It's a story. It doesn't exist on its own, it exists in the perception of others. You're powerful because people believe you are. And that belief is fragile. The moment people understand you, categorize you, or see the full shape of your capabilities, they start to resist. They analyze. They plot. They compare. And worst of all, they target. The mystique you carry is a form of armor. The vaguer you are, the more they guess. And guessing breeds caution. But the minute you reveal too much, your strategies, your resources, your weaknesses, you give people the ammunition they need to take you down. Power, then, is less about what you have and more about what you hide. It's a game of appearances. A dance of shadows. Invisibility is not passivity. It's control by omission. The more they see, the less you hold. Alcibiades was the embodiment of brilliance gone unchecked. A dazzling Athenian general, he was a master of rhetoric, strategy, and seduction. Men admired him. Women wanted him. Rivals feared him, and then they destroyed him. Why? Because Alcibiades couldn't help himself. He flaunted his genius. He ridiculed less intelligent peers. He seduced the wives of powerful men not out of love, but out of ego. He thought he was untouchable. But charisma without caution is a ticking bomb. He was exiled from Athens, defected to Sparta, then Persia, switching loyalties like a gambler chasing his luck. Eventually, his erratic moves caught up with him. Alone and hunted, he was assassinated in a foreign land. Not because he wasn't skilled. Not because he wasn't great. But because he didn't know when to stop performing. His need to be adored was louder than his sense of strategy. And that, in the end, was his death sentence. Sun Tzu's The Art of War is filled with tactics that boil down to one theme: never let them see you coming. His line, "Appear weak when you are strong," is not about deception for its own sake, it's about tactical timing. If your enemy believes you're weak, they lower their guard. If they believe you're invincible, they unite to destroy you. Both perceptions can be manipulated, but the goal is always the same: control. Control of attention. Control of expectation. The best generals aren't those who crush with force, they're the ones who win before the battle begins. That only happens when you keep your blade hidden, your hand unreadable, your mind a mystery. Power is about leverage, not noise. And the quietest move is often the deadliest. Even sacred texts reflect this brutal truth. In the Bible, King David sends Uriah, one of his most loyal and noble soldiers, to die in battle. Why? Because Uriah's virtue made David feel exposed. Uriah wasn't a threat politically. He wasn't planning rebellion. But he was too good, too loyal, too honest, and worst of all, a reminder of David's own guilt. That kind of virtue can be dangerous in a corrupt system. It forces others to look inward. It shames them. And when people are ashamed, they don't change, they eliminate the source. Uriah's downfall wasn't due to failure but to visibility. He became a mirror in a room full of liars. And that sealed his fate. In a world where appearance trumps substance, even righteousness, if it stands too tall, becomes a liability. Why do we show off? Because we want to be seen, admired, validated. It feels good. But it's a trap. The moment you seek praise, you surrender control. Your motivation becomes external. You start playing to the crowd. And while you're smiling for applause, someone in the audience is planning your fall. Ego is the enemy of longevity. It makes you chase recognition instead of results. It blinds you to threats because you assume your spotlight is also a shield. But fame is fragile. And the higher you rise without restraint, the more people want to pull you down, not out of principle, but out of spite. The seduction of showing off is powerful. But the aftermath is brutal. Power lasts when it's managed, not flaunted. Modern elite operatives, spies, special forces, master negotiators, don't wear capes. They don't scream power. They use the gray man tactic. They blend in. They lower their profile. They operate unnoticed. Because when you don't stand out, you can't be easily targeted. You move without resistance. You gather information, gain advantage, strike when it counts, all without ever being the focus. The gray man isn't passive. He's just patient. Controlled. Deadly when required, invisible the rest of the time. That's real power. Not fireworks, but precision. Not applause, but results. In a world addicted to spectacle, the ability to disappear is a weapon. Napoleon Bonaparte was a master of momentum, a man who bent Europe to his will with sheer intelligence, timing, and fearlessness. In his early campaigns, he was surgical. He struck fast, moved light, and avoided the spotlight. He let his victory speak for him. But once power took hold, something changed. Subtlety gave way to spectacle. He didn't just become emperor, he crowned himself, rejecting even the symbolic humility of being blessed by the church. That moment told the world everything. Napoleon was no longer just a general. He was an icon. And icons invite destruction. He couldn't resist the pull of legacy. He chased eternal glory through endless wars, each one bloodier than the last. Spain bled him. Russia broke him. Waterloo buried him. His mind remained sharp, but his pride clouded judgment. The strategist became the showman. And history doesn't forgive the spotlight. Nature doesn't play favorites, it plays odds. And in the natural world, the odds favor the invisible. Flash gets noticed. Flash gets hunted. Darwin didn't just teach survival of the fittest, he taught survival of the smartest. A peacock's tail might attract a mate, but it also makes escape harder. A frog with bright skin might be poisonous, or just dead before it could prove otherwise. Predators learn fast. Patterns evolve. The flashy fish, the loud bird, the colorful snake, all risk being noticed before they're ready to defend. Evolution punishes visibility unless it's backed by defense. And even then, it's a gamble. The creatures that survive longest. The ones that blend. That adapt. That move quietly. In the jungle, camouflage isn't just a feature, it's a philosophy. Nature rewards the ghost, not the firework. We've built a digital coliseum, and the masses are bloodthirsty. Social media isn't connection. It's performance. And the most visible performers, the influencers, the gurus, the flaunters of luxury and lifestyle, are under constant fire. One misstep, one screenshot, one old tweet, and the same crowd that cheered turns into a mob. Fame is fickle. The algorithm rewards exposure, but exposure is a double-edged blade. It demands more. It pushes you to exaggerate, to escalate, to fabricate. Until one day, the bubble pops. Fraud gets exposed. Reputations implode. Cancelled. Clowned. Forgotten. The cycle is ancient: rise, glorify, destroy, but the tempo has accelerated. In the age of virality, the crash comes fast. The lesson is the same: the higher the profile, the bigger the target. And no one survives forever in the feed. In the underworld, silence isn't just survival, it's sacred. The old mafia didn't need Instagram or headlines. Their power came from what wasn't said, what wasn't seen. The rule was clear: never outshine the dawn. The guys who rose too fast, talked too loud, wore diamonds to dinner, they vanished. Not because they failed, but because they made others feel insecure. In that world, ego is weakness. Visibility is death. The smart ones kept it low: cheap suits, quiet mouths, clean hands, even if those hands were soaked in blood behind closed doors. The loudest man in the room. He's usually the easiest to bury. Real power in that world was generational, quiet, disciplined. The kind of power that moves money, people, outcomes, without ever being named. Here's the uncomfortable truth: real power isn't sexy. It doesn't trend. It doesn't get likes. It doesn't sparkle on red carpets or scream in interviews. Real power is behind the curtain. It sits in boardrooms, moves billions, writes laws, and erases enemies without a single flash. It's logistics. It's networks. It's timing. It's the person who walks into a room and says nothing, but still gets everything they want. Why? Because they already set the table. The loud ones fight over scraps. The quiet ones own the kitchen. Real power is boring because it doesn't need attention, it already has control. By the time you realize who's running the game, you've already lost. Because they never showed their face. They never asked for credit. They just played. So how do you win in a world that rewards the loud and punishes the exposed? Simple, be the opposite. Be underestimated. Be boring. Let people talk. Let them think you're slow, average, harmless. That's when they stop guarding themselves. That's when they reveal their plans, their motives, their weaknesses. Meanwhile, you stay watching, calculating, preparing. And when the moment comes, you strike. Quietly. Precisely. No drama. No warning. Because true power isn't loud. It's surgical. It's the assassin, not the actor. Don't chase recognition. Chase leverage. Build slow. Move smart. Let others crave applause while you collect the wins. Never forget this, the more you show, the less you control. Visibility is vulnerability. Power lives in mystery. Let your actions whisper. Let your silence haunt. And when the move comes, make it clean, no warning, no noise, just results. If they didn't see you coming, they'll never know how to stop you. That's not just strategy. That's survival. That's how the great ones stay great, long after the stars have burned out. This is the Beyond the Surface channel. If this hit you, and it should, subscribe. This isn't fluff. We're not here to play nice. We go deeper, strategy, history, power, truth, no filters. If you've ever paid the price for standing out, or watched someone burn out trying to be the brightest in the room, drop a comment. What did you learn? What would you do differently? Let's talk in the shadows. Until next time, stay low, think sharp, move quiet, strike hard. Thank you for watching.